Hey everyone, welcome back to the Able State channel. It's Wampamba once again. In this third episode of Node.js for absolute beginners, we shall look at the module system. Modules are a way of exposing functionality from different Node files to others, and modules help us write much modular, hence cleaner code. Let's dive in. So I'll create a file. Let me open terminal, and I use the terminal to create. So I'll create a file here, 3 files. One of the files is expenses.js. The second file is calculate.js. And the third file is app.js. So in the app, we want to output data. This data is going to come from various places. Let's see. So for example, for expenses, I want to create a JavaScript object. What we shall do, we can put objects in an array, different objects, like 3 objects, okay? Each object is gonna have a key, and we can say that the keys title, cost, how much did it cost us? We shall use dollars, so shall assume $25. Then date, yeah, we can have the date. I'll change the date to that. Then we can have another item that we spent on. Okay, we can use transport. Cost was about $15. The date is the same. Okay, something like that. Yeah, let's not make it big. We want app to be able to have the expenses. How can we do that? Node allows us to export functionality from a file so that we can access the functionality to another file. One of the methods is by using module.exports equals, then you export something, okay? Whatever we export, we may export it directly like this, or give it a name. For example, we may choose to call this one const expenses equals to this array, and then here we may say module exports array expenses, okay? So that's one way. We shall see another way later. We can go to the apps, to the app.js to import this. How we import it is simple. We just require, we use require, and we use require and require whatever we want. So here we require expenses, okay, expenses.js, and we can assign what we've required to something. So we can assign expenses. Let's try to console and be sure expenses. And here we shall run node app. It has not brought them. Let's try removing the JS and we see. Yes. So when we are importing, we don't need to import together with the extension. So whatever we exported from expenses is now appearing here. We can add things to expenses and which are not exported, and you see. So for example, I can put here something like total equals const total equals to, let me say 100. So because total is not exported, we shall not see it in the console. You can see that they have not consoled it because we did not export it. If we want to export more items from one file, we can export an object total like that. This means expenses won't work unless we destructure them. Oh, they have, because we've exported a direct object, and it's the object that has appeared. So if we want to use expenses the other side, so just consider that everything here is assigned here, okay, unless we do a destructure like this. I think this can give us the expenses alone. Yes. So if we wanted to have a total, we can also destructure it, and I can console it here. You see, so the total is here, the expenses are here. The other way, if I leave it like this to expenses, that means I have to say expenses dot expenses and then expenses dot total. So this one also works, but you can see that it's too ambiguous. You have to use expenses and unless you find a different variable to use here, and that means that you also have to change the file name. So because usually the module should have relatable information, you don't want to have information about expenses that is totally different from expenses. That's one way. So I'll comment this out, and then let's go with our expenses and equals require expenses. Just that. We shall see how we shall use the expenses. Now, well, I want to calculate to return the total of expense. So how can we do that? I'll use an arrow function, const total get total. What can it take? It will take, based on our object, it will take items. It will take in items, and then it will loop through the items and return to us something. So items dot reduce, I think reduce can work. So, and we can have total then item, then we can have so total plus the return total plus the item dot cost. Our expenses, do they have? Yeah, yes, they have cost. So dot cost, and it will be returned. But then I need to add, yes, I need to put here a circle bracket. Okay, so how can we export the generate total to the outside world? There's another way we can do that. We can attach it to the exports. Exports, is it how? I think it's exports dot get total equals get total. So let's try to import this to the app so that it can calculate the expenses. So we shall say const get total equals require calculate. We shall name this calculate to make things simple. Then this, and then if we want to get the total, we can say calculate dot get total. So we put in expenses, and then we can console the total. So let's see if this works. Undefined. Okay, we shall know why. Okay, I'll try to console log calculate, see what they tell me. So calculate has a function called get total. Oh, I need to return here. In this function I need to return, and then things will work. So they're telling me object 15. So where does the object come from? And where does the 15 come from? So we shall see. We have 25 and 15. So we would have gotten 40, but we are getting object, and then so we can come here and check. So get total. Here is set total equals 0 total. So maybe I need to put an accumulator here, no, a default value which is 0. Then I set total plus. All right, so yes, so all I needed to do was to, because I'm using a reduce function and I assume that you know how to use it, so I had missed a 0, which is the initial value for total. So now we've gotten the right value. So you can see that we've been able to export this functionality. We've been able to export the get total from calculate and imported it to the app. We've also exported the expenses and imported them in the app and used them together to output a total of the expenses. That's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions.